Hello, I am
Run
Zach
podcast.
Adams. I am a writer.
Oh, you can edit that, sure.
Good start.
Yeah.
I'm not editing that. Go ahead.
My name is Levi. I am a aspiring software engineer, developer, coder, whatever you want to call it.
And this
There's
is
so many names, you know what I mean.
Writer's Code. How long have you actually been coding now?
Probably 2 months, 2.5 months.
That's so like intense.
Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something like that. I was going to say between 2 and 4 months of doing it intensely, because you sort of like dabbled for 6 months until you were like, I'm doing this.
Did I? Was it that long?
Yeah, you were talking about like, oh, I'm going to check this out. I'm going to try and learn this thing. Like, I don't know if you were actually trying it, but you were definitely strategizing what you were going to do.
Okay, so I was definitely in the process, because the way that because I could go back and look at put these vision boards, but I could go back and look at those. But my most recent one, that's why I thought it was only like 3 months, 2.5 months, because my most recent one has it on there to start coding. So I don't think it was longer than that. It must have been but yeah, so probably like 3.5 or 2.5, 3 months out there.
Okay, that makes sense to me. And somehow you already have a schedule that sort of works for you, or do you think that's mostly because of the boot camp?
As far as right now, I kind of just code whenever I need to for that. Which before that, I was coding on my own, sporadically. I would take a day off and then I would do 10 hours. But we talked about that. It was more like 6, but yeah.
See, that's wild. I could write like that in college. I was actually thinking about this today. What part of the day did I actually write in during college? And I was thinking about it, and I think it's probably about now. I think now is about when I did most of my writing. Mostly because of the fact that I did 8 a.m. to 4 every day was class, just straight through.
Mm-hmm.
It was 8 a.m. class, and then I had a 9:30 class, and then an 11 class, and then class at 1, 2:30 and 4 or something like that. And I was done by 5. There was I had 6 classes a day, 3 in the morning and 3 after lunch. And I did a lot of, depending on what my gaps were, I'd have 30 minutes to read in there or something. But I couldn't sit down and write then. So I think I did a lot of my coding, or not my coding, my writing at night, which is completely opposite to what I'm doing now. But I also think I was able to do things sporadically like you can, and I can't do that anymore.
Just my schedule just allows that for now because I don't really have a real job. But I would assume that it would be going back to the same as that, What would you rather do? Would you rather do mornings or nights?
I don't know if either of those things actually has the biggest sort of push. But if everything else was held optimized, right, I would rather actually in the morning. And that's weird because I'm not a morning person.
Me neither. I don't know.
The difference is that my brain is all there. It hasn't, I don't feel drained by anything else in my day yet. Right? When I get home from work, I'm ugh, I've already spent so much mental energy on shit.
And what was that book? They called it willpower. I mean, technically it's a muscle. You have 8 hours, generally speaking, of willpower to force yourself to do something. And then throughout the day, it kind of gets drained out. But I mean, if you enjoy doing it, it probably lasts longer, that 8 hours anyway.
I've heard decision fatigue, right? I've heard the conversation surrounded around willpower. I think Dr. Dr. K has talked about that before, that your willpower diminishes throughout the day because of I don't remember exactly what he was saying. And then I've also heard Andrew Huberman has a thing about what time of day is best for what sorts of activities, depending on what you have, what their demand is, if it's mental or physical, and what kind of habit you've established for it already. If it's something new, it's really hard to do super late in the day because you're already so drained from all the rest of your shit.
Yeah.
The biggest factor, honestly, is the deadline. When I was writing at night in college, I had deadlines.
I think, yeah, deadline is super important. It's hard to place one on yourself when you don't need to get something done.
Oh yeah, it's brutal.
But
That's probably the number one thing I struggle with.
That's mainly why I'm like, so over the last few weeks, because there's like an assessment for the boot camp, like leading up to it, they want to, which is crazy because, okay, so General Academy, I don't have anything bad to say about General Academy. I don't know anything about them, but like their assessment was kind of like, It was like to make sure that you are interested in this, right? It's like, it was more of like are you sure you want to do this? And if you do, you can make it through this. It's not really that hard. You can figure it out. It's not that bad. Whereas like the one that I'm doing now is like, here's what you need to do. This is the project you need to create. We'll kind of guide you in the right direction, but you go figure it out on yourself. And it's actually fucking hard. Like, it's putting functions together and then like switches and a bunch of different shit that like, I don't know how someone that was beginner would ever even fucking do it. If I hadn't been learning, I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't think. Which is kind of weird. And this boot camp's like cheapest. He's just starting out, so it's like very cheap. So I've learned more, I think, on this last 2 weeks than I learned in 2 months before that.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if I've ever learned anything in writing that fast. So, real quick, just so that anybody has like any sort of idea why we're doing writer's code, like why we've been talking about this for a while, and for the longest time we've been friends since high school, since middle school, since the end of 7th grade when I actually moved here. I would say
high
close
school
friends at that point, but
oh yeah, because football, right?
Yeah, that was like
kind of, yeah.
But then we like got much closer in high school, and then but for the longest time, it didn't have like, we had similar interests, but we're approaching it from like 180-degree difference. Mm-hmm. We both like business. We both like working out. We both like a bit of philosophy and psychology, and we like could read those things, but we were like seriously coming from opposite ends of the spectrum on everything. And he was very much in this, like, I want to, I don't know, what would you say your focus over like the last 5 years, excluding like the most recent 6 months?
I don't know. I've basically failed at everything that I did, but I learned a lot. So, I mean, like that's good.
Like all very, not logical, practical, not creative.
No, yeah, it definitely wasn't as creative as it is now. It was more like, I'm going to try this, fail as many times as possible until I get it right.
It was methodical. Methodical is probably a good way to do it.
Which, I mean, there was some success in there, but it was more like the journey of figuring out what I wanted to do, what I could, like, keep my attention over, like, there was a quote that I heard the other day by Alex Hamzel. He's like these business. Okay, so this is like a totally.
I don't know this one,
but he says if you can't do it for 10 years, don't do it for a day, which is a great. But that's basically I think what I was doing over the last. To sum it up,
sure. I'm more going for, and I think I figured it out. You didn't generate anything. There was nothing. You didn't create a product. Or you were doing business stuff, but in no way were you like creating something. You were looking for ways to trade things, to do arbitrage sorts of things. So there was nothing generative about what you were doing.
No.
Which there definitely is now.
Absolutely, yeah. That's exactly what ties it into all this.
Yeah, what we've recently discovered is that I, who have been writing and reading for a really long time, have always sort of had that angle on the like generative creative thing. And recently Levi has started using my language, and I was like, wait, what are we doing the same thing? Like, are we doing this now? And the more we've talked about it, the more we figured out there's actually a ton of similarities between writing and coding, which I would never have guessed.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. There was a podcast that I was listening to today that like I'll have it put together for next time, but there was a lot of just like kind of rules and sayings about like coding that kind of goes with whatever creative endeavor that you might be doing. So I'll get that together next time, and then we can like chat on that. But it was pretty wild, like the similarities. I know you would have been like, "Damn, dude, I'm fucking every one of these things." Like,
Ding,
yeah,
ding, ding. Yeah.
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 But yeah, I'll get it together next time.
So I want to compare our processes. I want to compare when you come to sit down and you go through a project. I imagine what you code for, like, say, like a website, it's more like writing a short story than it is a novel.
Okay.
So I'm going to compare those sorts of things because writing a novel is way different than writing a short story. But I want to see.
So there's a draft involved, yeah. So kind of. I haven't necessarily put. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
There are multiple drafts to a short story.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple drafts to a website.
You want to just kind of like jump into like the process, kind of. I'm not like very good at doing it, but I understand like how it works now, like the process.
Just the like what you're doing, not necessarily the function. I don't want you to teach me how to code.
No, I know. Okay, so
Okay.
Start from scratch. We made a website. That was part of the assessment for the boot camp. Again, I just want to iterate here that I am very new to coding, so anything that I say probably wrong. But at this point, so
it's working for you.
Yeah, but we're it's a learning process. We're going from here. So, the website that I made, which was part of the project or the assessment, obviously, you would start out with all the HTML. What the HTML is just the structure of the website. So you want to have these 3 pictures up top. You put the 3 pictures in. You want like your nav bar. You would put all the nav bar words in. And then there is no structure here. It's just everything that you're going to use on the website, and then you put it together afterwards. So it's like a first draft kind of. It's like
I would say it sounds like it's even before that. It sounds like it's like a bullet point, not
gathering
even
materials.
Outline. Like just like I want a sex scene. I want a dinner scene. I want right. Like you don't even know what order they're in yet, right?
True. I think you would write that. That would be the step before. You'd have to write everything out. You'd have to write, I want this paragraph, this heading, this section of the page. Like, let's say there's a top, middle, and a bottom section.
It's sort of like a first draft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. You would have all this together before you would put it into the HTML. And then you would have like images on there that you kind of like tie in. But you put all this together and then you would structure it to get, you would start putting, let's say H1 would be like a heading. And then you would put like a P tag on it, would be a paragraph under that. Then you start like structuring it like that, and then it starts coming together on the page. Otherwise, it's just like if you were to put it on a page, it's just a jumbled mess all the way.
Okay, so I think we're getting a little bit of a like language separation. Writers talk about process.
Yeah.
We talk because the process of writing is the process of writing, like the actual writing part. You sit down, you write a story, and everybody sort of understands the language of the story. And you can definitely get into things like sentence variation and all of those things, but then you're getting very writerly, and it's like, ugh. Even writers look at other writers when they get really writerly, and they're like, oh, good. Please stop talking. This is so cringe, bro. Like, yeah, I mean, when we talk about process, it's like, can you write with someone else in the room? Most writers will tell you absolutely fucking not. I have to be in a room by myself. But that's the sort of thing where it's like, what's your process? There are some writers. What is the Stephen King book where he goes to the hotel Misery? That writer's process. Have you seen Misery?
Nope.
Oh my God, you have to watch Misery.
Certainly have not. Okay, I'll definitely put it on the old notepad. But I'm starting to understand kind of like what you mean by a process now. So my process would be, this kind of comes, you said Misery. This kind of comes down to, I know I'm going to code in like 30 minutes. So I make sure I have tea. If I don't have tea, I go to the store, get some fucking tea. I milk tea. I like milk tea. So it's the caffeine. I like the caffeine. So it's like,
did you do that before you were writing? Like coming to your computer, did you always make tea and then go sit down at your computer? Or is this something that started just when...
No, I just, if I felt like tea, I would get tea. I didn't bring tea to my computer when I came. but now I do because like I want that everything to kind of like line up at the same time. Like the caffeine hits me at 30 minutes, and then I drink my fruit punch juice bursts, whatever they're called. It's a burst, not a. But yeah, it's like the fruit punch Kool-Aid. I have like a 6-pack. That 6-pack, and they come in like that, like Coke bottle shape or whatever. Those.
It's just the taste. So scientific.
I drink
30 minutes before. That's so like.
That's about like when the caffeine hits you. It feels like 20 to 30 minutes. But that's what it feels like anyway. But anyway, so the next process is I have those juice boxes, and I have them in the fridge, but I only drink them when I'm coding. Oh, that is the only time I'll ever have that fucking taste in my mouth. So I know my brain switches to like, oh, I'm coding now.
It's what's the thing with alcohol? The state dependent memory. You know what I'm talking about?
Not exactly.
Some of the things that you did drunk, you'll really only remember drunk. Right? Because that's how the memory was like encoded in your brain, is in that state. And so you have to be in that state to recall the memory. Do you think this is something like that? You only drink those things while you're coding because the taste of that like puts your brain in the coding state?
I mean, it's like the same reason that you would like not sit, or if I was studying, I would sit in. Okay, this is a terrible example, but like, I don't know where I was going with this. But anyway, so like if I'm watching TV, I sit in one chair. If I'm studying, I sit in another chair.
Yeah. This is exactly what I'm talking about.
It's the same idea. Yeah, I can code without it, but I think it's more for focus. Maybe.
I think so too. I think it's the sort of like, I want to say this is weird. It's weird that you do tea because I know so many writers that do tea. I'm pretty sure Stephen King is a tea guy, right? Sarah LeBrot definitely does tea. She's talked about it like a ton recently.
Well, coffee tastes like ass unless you put a bunch of sugar in it, and then tea is just good, I think. But
depends on the tea. But they all talk about it, and I want to say it's in Stephen King's On Writing, where he talks about like he does tea and Bing and Boom, and it like starts. It's like a trance that he almost puts himself in. I think those are the words that he uses. Is that by following all of those steps just before doing it? So it's wild that you do this for coding, because he says it puts me into the writing trance. Like that way, when I finally sit down, and apparently it takes you about 30 minutes, which is wild because Brandon Sanderson says he can write for 2 hours at a time, right? Do 2 hours of good writing, but he needs like a 30, 45 minute run up to get to the good writing and a 30, 45 minute cool down on the other side of bad writing. And so like, it's weird that you're in that 30-minute window of like, I'm going to need to drink my caffeine and get into.
Kind of. It took me about. Okay, so yeah, that fucking project that I was talking about, it took me about 2 hours to bust that out. And in my head, like not doing it, I was like, dude, this is going to take me all fucking night. I don't want to do this. But yeah, after like whatever the run up, get all my shit set up. And then classical music is the other one, by the way. I don't know why. But like if I feel like I'm not really focused, I'm focused, but I'm not, I put classical music on and it like solves all my issues. It just kind of like mellows everything out and we're chilling.
That's
It took me about 2 hours to write that fucking project.
Mine is headphones. They don't necessarily even have to have something in them, but I basically have to shut my ears off.
Okay.
Outside sounds are so distracting to me that it's like I can't stay in the moment if I don't have headphones. And what I've noticed is that's true everywhere, right? Like I can put headphones on at work and go too. And I can't do music that has like words, because then I'm paying attention to the lyrics. But I can do things like instrumentals and classical music, because then it's just noise, but headphones make that so close to my head I can't hear anything else. So I get the classical music part. I think a lot of people do stuff like that just for studying.
Cool. Yeah, so is it similar to like your process then? I mean, apart from the headphones and like the run up to.
I have a run up, but my run up happens while I'm doing it. And so I have this crutch in writing, especially when I'm starting, which sort of sucks when I'm starting every day. So I sort of like, I will write for a day, right? Let's not talk about starting from the blank page because that's like a whole other topic to address, which I'm sure is true for you too. When you're like, how the fuck am I going to start a program? How am I going to, where do I even start with this project? Right? Like, so we'll talk about that a totally different day. So let's assume I've already written a little bit of this, or I have a plan or I have an outline or something, right? So I'll like sit down and I'll actually like edit the last 2 pages that I wrote before. And as I'm going, I'll like start to edit through those things and be like, and then I'll catch the rhythm of it. And so those 2 pages take me 10 or 15 minutes. Then I catch the rhythm. Well, more like 15, 20. 2 pages of editing takes me like 15, 20 minutes. I catch the rhythm and then I can jump back in. And there's still a little bit of run up for me to be full on writing, where I'm sure you get this in your coding thing where like, it's almost like you're not even sitting in your body as you're coding. You're like, you've lost your body. You're just some detached consciousness that's somehow interfacing with your story, with your program. Do you ever get that?
Kind of, but there's a lot of breaks in mine. Mine is like, I spend most of my time like looking shit up. Like,
Writers do that
so
too.
there is, okay, so I would say 90% of it is me Googling shit and trying to figure out how it works. So yes, but I don't get lost in the creative juices. I do maybe later, but yeah.
I know when I'm like in the moment because I forget I have hands. I forget that like the thing I'm working with is a keyboard in front of me. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just all so connected at that moment. I'm just like boom, 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 boom. And I'm still critical. I'm still like good sentence, bad sentence, you know, like that word sucks here. You know, I've used, you know, like 5 times in the last 2 sentences. I need to stop saying, you know, I should probably go delete this other, you know, because it's been so many, you knows. But there are things like that where it's like, I'm not brain dead, just like, and just shitting onto a page. I'm still there. I just don't recognize the interface. That's how I like know that I'm in it. The run up portion that happens before that, because I write in the morning now, I get coffee, right? Like I take care of the dog, I take care of the cat. I get coffee. When I'm writing, then I can sort of like coffee, sit down, go. It's more can'ts for me than anything. Absolutely cannot have my phone anywhere near me.
Yeah, I throw my, like, sometimes you'll do like that little, oh, there it is. Oh, wait, what? And then I'll just like fucking take it and I'll toss it over into the corner. Just fucking Kareem Abdul-Jabbar hook shot that bitch. Yeah.
I wish I had the self-control. If it starts near me, I'll just pick it up. Oh, it's so bad. I recently deleted all social media off my phone. I'm going to set up like a post schedule thing where it's like I come to this device, which is the only device I have that has the social medias on it. I'll post it and check my stuff, set the device down. That's not the one I carry around. Because I'm the worst. So I'll like get to the end of a sentence. Things aren't even going badly. I'll just get to the end of the sentence. I'll hit period and just that little bit of break between the end of that sentence and the start of the next sentence. I'll pick up my phone. So phone cannot be anywhere near me.
Yeah, I feel you.
And then there are certain things that I can't have done yet to even make it to the thing. To even like make it to the writing desk. If I started watching or listening to something, I will make excuses for finishing that thing before I sit down and write every single time. So I'll never write. Right? There are just things like that where I like can't do any of that before I sit down and start writing, or I won't start. And then I'm particular about, and this will be really bad if I ever become super successful. I'm particular about having a place to write. Your coding computer is your gaming computer, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Is that a problem?
Which, not as much as I thought. When I need to do something, I fucking do it. I've removed any sort of like, I always have 2 things on my fucking screens, so I don't have any backgrounds. And then, the phone gets tossed, and then I've removed like any game off my taskbar, like that was pinned, so can't see it. But yeah, other than that, it's like not that bad. When I have something that I have to do, but
I need a special computer to write at.
I've thought that I would. Maybe it's better. It probably is better to have a special. I know
if
that
it's working for you. If it's working for you, it works, right? Like,
if I got a laptop and I go sit at Starbucks, that would be even more of like juice box fucking fruit juices. It'd be like, oh, I'm walking into Starbucks. I'm on a job now. Like, I'm working. I'm at work.
For a long time ago, I couldn't write at Starbucks. I like couldn't write at coffee houses. And then I was living with 3 guys at the time. And like we were living, it was a 3-bedroom house. But I had basically taken what was my bedroom and turned it into a recording studio. This is like in the transition from recording artist sort of person to a writer sort of person, when I figured out so basically what happened, one of my roommates at the time gave me a book that was about like writing songs. And as I was going through the exercises in it, which you were supposed to be writing things that were, sort of lyrical, I wasn't writing lyrics. I was writing prose. Like I was writing stories about these prompts. And that's when I was like, ooh, maybe my natural instinct when it comes to words is not to write music, but to write things. And then I sort of played back through my head my relationship with either music or books. And I had always been way more interested in books. And I was just like, I've been screwing up. But I still had the recording studio in one of those spare bedrooms. And so I didn't want to just can the whole thing down, because I was like $15,000 into it. I had a lot of money invested in that fucking room. And so I didn't want to just tear the whole thing down. So I was living in the living room, but trying to start writing too. And I couldn't. And so that was what prompted me to finally be able to go, because I had to get out of the house to write. And so I started going to coffee shops to write. I can do it now, but I'm very particular about where I sit down to do what I'm doing. Like the computer that I'm at now, I'm going to have to install or uninstall all the video games off of this.
I definitely recommend that. Yeah. Cause that's, you fucking sit down to, well, it's not you, it's like your fucking brain. Your brain runs so many fucking cognitive functions that run on, I said functions again. So many cognitive functions that run without us thinking. Like we can't have, it's like 99% of the brain. I mean, your fucking organs work without you. Your circuitry works.
Yeah.
All this shit works. The same thing works. Like, oh, you're sitting down at this computer to do what? Play video games. Oh, dude, I'm down. Let's go. I'm ready. And dopamine.
And my brain is just so bad at specifically sitting here, right? This is the computer I'm supposed to use to do video editing. It's the workhorse computer that I have for video editing. Well, it being the workhorse computer means it also plays games really well. And when I sit down, my brain will go, you can play one. And then before I even notice, because it's so easy to just have played one and just hit find match. And then, now the queue popped. Now I gotta hit accept. Yep. I gotta, okay.
Well, I know Lenovo's got some pretty good deals. If you know what I mean. You need to get some.
I need to just make
no, they do have some decent, pretty cheap, some laptop or something.
I don't know if it would do video editing very well. I'm seriously, the issue is that I just need to get rid of the video games.
Oh, okay.
I just need to get them. I'll just, and it's not all of the video games. It's just one. I really don't think I even have any of the rest of them installed on this computer anymore.
They don't even say the name. It's like Voldemort at this point.
I know. There's just one left. If I can get rid of that one. But we were going to talk about this. You asked me 2 days ago if it's wild that you asked me this 2 days ago, because I didn't even connect that I just watched something about this. So I was watching Dr. K, and he was talking about, somebody asked him something, and the question is basically do you have to give up video games for life? You have to give them up forever. And this sort of goes to what you were talking about before, where you're if you had all the money in the world, you'd spend 80% of your time playing video games.
I would. Yeah, the other 20% would be very productive in the other things I want to do with my life. But yeah, dude, like my free time, that's exactly what I'd be fucking doing. I'd be in good shape. I'd have good relationships outside of that. But like, yeah. But go. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No. I sort of like, that's weird to me. Not your answer. I just know, and maybe this is sort of like the same way some people can be casual smokers. Right? Like for some people, they really can. They can like pick up a cigarette and sort of like smoke when they're drinking, and then I never understood those people in my life. Never. The people who are like, yeah, I'll have one while we're drinking. And then the next day, they weren't like going to buy cigarettes or anything. They were just like, no, I'm fine. Living their lives. I smoked. I smoked a lot more when I drank, but I smoked when I wasn't drinking. I just smoked. And I know that like I can never go be the guy who's like, yeah, I'll have one while I'm drinking. I'm totally smooth as shit. Like I'll never be that guy. Like I just know it. I know I can't smoke cigarettes. I think I'm also going to be the guy that can't play video games. The question
is that what Dr.
No, the question that he wanted people to ask themselves was, imagine, and this is what prompted me to uninstall my social media. Imagine uninstalling social media. Like actually imagine it, right? And then the reaction that you have typically is like, there's some kind of like thing in your brain that like cringes or twitches or like repulses from the idea. And that, whatever that thing is, that's the thing that tells you like, no, you can keep it on your phone. Just don't use it as much. No, you can keep it on your computer. And then you realize that's the addicted thing. That's the thing that's trying to get you to compromise on whatever that is. So when it comes to process, I am a person who has to completely remove the distractions. You can put your phone on the other side of the room. I have to like leave my phone on Mars. Like seriously. I'm pretty sure when it comes to the actual video game question that you asked me, like there will be a point where I'm a person who, if I do play a video game at all, it'll be I'm deciding to play this video game for this weekend. I will download the video game. I will play it and I will uninstall
pull the Alex Becker. You have to pull the Alex Becker and throw it in your pool.
Yeah, I'll have to uninstall that fucking thing at the end of the thing. I'll have to like get rid of it.
Yeah, I mean like that's part of life is like learning yourself, and like there's nothing wrong with like if you can't do the shit that you want to do and have video games in your life, dude, fucking remove that shit.
I'm gonna cut in right now.
Nice. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, she's got a giant bark. You were saying?
I was saying that like I mean that's what, dude, I feel like that's what life is like learning learning yourself. So like if you can't have both, then that is something that you need to eliminate the games, obviously, to do what you want to do. Like if it's hindering what you're trying to do, you know,
it's very much a self-awareness thing. Like so many things, right? They're just, there's a saying in writers. People talk about whether you're a plotter or a pantser, which is the difference between like having a massive outline or just sitting down and starting to write a book and figuring out where it goes without any sort of idea where you start, which I'm getting anxiety just from saying that. Or if you're, like a night writer or a morning writer, or if you're like a writing sprinter, or if you're a like 2-hour block person, right? Like, and the reality is there are as many writing processes as there are people, as there are writers. I bet the same is probably true for coders, but I do think that there are definitely similarities, right? We both, to some extent, try and limit distraction. I have to apparently go way further than you do to limit distraction for me.
Well, we'll find out, because like this boot camp that so this is like, I'm not really trying to like code every day. I do try to code every day, but I'm not really coding every day. So this boot camp is like 9 to 10 hours a day, like 5 days a week, plus like the shit outside of that. So we're about to find out real quick whether or not I need to do some
Fucking put your phone on Mars.
yeah.
Uninstall everything off of your computer.
I'm about to figure out real fast. Like,
that's wild.
Second day.
9 hours a day. The only time I think I've ever
there's a lunch in there too, but
sure. The only time I think I've ever written like that, I didn't even write like that though. I've never sat and written for 9 hours a day. That's not true. That's actually not true. When I wrote my very first book, I wrote it in 19 days. I was supposed to write it in 15. Got behind schedule. I was really trying to write it in 15. Got behind schedule, ended up finishing it in 19 days. And all I did, like, I woke up, ate breakfast. I was basically like on call for the job that I had at the time, but they were never going to call me. Like, I knew they were never going to call me. And so, like, I would like call at 10 a.m. or at 8 a.m., whenever the call was supposed to be. I call them and be like, hey, I'm alive. Let me know if you need me. Click. And then I'd start writing. And I would write from then until like 8 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock at night. So there were times I wrote 12 hours straight. Was I like actually like the whole time? No, of course not. Right? Like I had lunch and there were parts where I was like sort of like having a conversation with one of my roommates or whatever. But like,
you ever get frustrated? That's something that I found with coding, that it happens all the time.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Because there are times where I'm like, there are times where everything on the screen just looks like another language, and I'm just, dude, if I don't stand up and walk out of this room right now, I will throw this monitor through the fucking window. I mean, it's not that bad, but
mine's literally that bad.
In my mind, I'm like, dude, that's a possibility, so I'm just gonna stand up.
Mine, it's almost never that bad once I'm into it. Once I'm going, it's fine. But there are some days where I sit down and I read the last 2 pages I wrote the day before, and I go, why the fuck am I even here? This might as well have been written by a 4-year-old. This might as well have been written by someone who has no grasp of the English language whatsoever. You want to talk about the infinite monkey theorem? Here it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm a monkey. This is the writing of a monkey. And I will like, and I'm very frustrated when I read that stuff. But that's a first draft, right? Like, and then you just have to remind yourself that like,
we're going to be talking about a lot of the same things.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, because I follow a shitload. I feel like when I do this type of stuff that I mean, sure, you follow a lot of writers, but like over the last, I think that's kind of like what you mentioned, the strategic side of what I was doing. Like, oh, I'm going to code, I'm going to do this. I followed a shitload of people, like from Microsoft, Amazon, a bunch of like influencers, JavaScript, Jabber. Like I'm like in this ecosystem now, and they kind of say the same thing that you're saying. Like they warn people about like when you're starting, this is the process. Like this is what happens. This is what you're going to do. This is.
Oh yeah.
So like as the next like month or two goes on, like I feel like we'll have a lot more similarities in like the process.
It's already one. It freaks me out that there's so many things, because we had the conversation where it's like coding and writing are both communication. You're communicating your intentions to a computer, and I'm trying to communicate like a story or idea to another human being. You sort of get immediate feedback. I don't get immediate feedback, but we use words like language, right? Is there a sentence?
There's a structure. There's a structure to, I don't know if you'd call it syntax. I don't know necessarily like all the correct words, but there's a structure to shit. Like if it's not put in a correct structure, like function, what it's called, parentheses, and then brackets, if it doesn't go in, like, and then what it runs is in the brackets. And then you can put more parentheses or brackets. And then like semicolons and shit. Semicolons is like the big one. You'll use semicolons all the fucking time. Semicolons is like a period.
Yours reads more like a tech manual then, because it's like a list of instructions, right? But the sentence part is there. There's a format to what you have to lay down on the page.
Yeah.
On the page. I mean, the websites even use page. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I think we're going to find there's a lot of similarities. I think the approaches are going to be similar. I think that if we get to the point where we want to do something where it's like even looking at the way that, say, like the CEO of Google talks about coding, if they have something like that, although most CEOs like aren't in it, they're more business, whatever. But maybe there's an interview from Google One or something, which is like a hacker group that Google owns. Where they talk about something. Like, yeah, I bet it's the same as like one of the writers who talks about the sort of like craft. When writers really want to talk about writing, they'll call it the craft. Right? That's how you know that it's about to get pretty highbrow up in here. Talking about craft. George Saunders talks about craft a lot. Like he talks about writing to the sentence level, where like doesn't matter how interesting your story is, if sentence by sentence you don't keep the reader, they're never going to find out that the whole story is interesting. They give up like so quickly. So you have to make each sentence work. You have to make each sentence like pop. I imagine that when you get to the high level people talking about coding, where they're like, I don't want to waste a single line. I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want any extra. I don't know what the words are, but I bet you're going to run into the exact same sorts of ideas.
Yeah, well, this is why I was watching or listening, because like this JavaScript jabber, like these guys are like senior developer professional dudes, and like I don't know what the fuck they're saying most of the time, but I understand that like what they're saying is important.
Yeah.
So I listen, and one day I'll connect the fucking dots. But yeah, they do say a lot of things like that, like dry, don't repeat yourself. That's it's kind of what you were talking about with the knows. Like, because you can be very repetitive with the coding shit, as you might have guessed if you're like trying to do the same thing over and over. But they said ripe. It's like repeat yourself while productive or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember the acronym, but dry is like a super popular one. Then you said something else that I was going to tie it into, but I forgot what it was.
We've got plenty of time to talk about all this shit.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm excited. When does your boot camp actually start?
Monday.
Oh, is next Tuesday going to be a good day for you?
I don't know. That's something we need to talk about.
Okay. Yeah, we'll figure something out.
The boot camp is based out of Europe. So it's going to be from 12 a.m. to 9 a.m.
I'm never going to fucking see you. 9 a.m. Yeah. We'll have to fucking catch you after one, record it in the morning, and then fucking...
Maybe.
That's funny. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. You look a cat.
Nice. Is it down here? I don't know what side I'm on. This cat.
You don't have any pets?
No, I was pointing to your cat because I don't know where I'll be on the screen.
Oh, down?
This way?
Right this way? Right there. Yeah.
Nice. Down here. Nice.
Cat. Okay, well, this has been episode good. 1 of... Are we going the writer's code or writer's code?
I don't know. Writer's code? What are you thinking?
I sort of liked without the, just writer's code.
Yeah.